Wednesday we were on routine patrol on the Intercoastal, and we observed a vessel proceeding northbound on the Intercoastal, and that vessel had struck 2 sandbars. That drew our attention to the boat, and the fact that one of the engines was inoperative, we assumed that maybe its other engine might have the same problem going over these sandbars. The boat proceeded to the Boynton Beach ramp, where it tied up, and that's when Officer Darin and I, we were on our police boat, had tied up to the dock as well to make contact with the operators of the boat to see if they were okay, to see why they struck these 2 sandbars, and to also educate them about the manatee season that's coming up. They could hit a sandbar, they might be able to hit a manatee as well.
What happened after you came alongside their boat?
We made our way to the Boynton Beach Ramp Lagoon, where the suspect vessel was headed towards. They were on one engine, as my partner said, so they weren't able to dock the boat the way they wanted to. The boat ended up turning around sideways from the wind and not having another engine help them dock it correctly. So we ended up pulling our boat alongside their boat, and they started to walk off their boat and walk away. So Officer Koch tried to get their attention and ask them a few questions, and they ended up making their way back to the boat. Officer Koch started to ask them some questions as far as where they were going, what their intentions were, if they were in distress, to find out if they were possibly impaired from hitting the sandbar a few times. So I was able to obtain their identification. I was checking their names through our police radio, through dispatch, and after asking them just a few questions, their stories started to sound a little different. They had conflicting stories. One of the gentlemen had said that they were on a fishing trip, while the other gentleman was saying that they were hauling the boat to repair one of the engines. They both seemed very nervous, skittish. They were shaking. Their hands were shaking. They were sweating, and they were walking around in circles, basically trying to avoid our questions. There was a long hesitation to answer any of our questions that we had. And before long, I was checking their names and their IDs. Officer Koch had received permission from one of the suspects to board the vessel. As soon as Officer Koch got on the boat and started making his way towards the forward compartment and the center console of the boat, they decided to take flight and run off the dock. So they were running in a southbound direction. We ended up transmitting over the police radio. Just our luck, we had some of our friends and colleagues from the Customs Border Protection that were in the area at the ramp. We began shouting to them to possibly give us a hand and intercept the 2 suspects that were running away from us. And at that point, we were able to give pursuit. We ran after the 2 suspects. We ran southbound through the boat ramp into a hedge line, which is borders a neighborhood that's south of the Boynton Beach boat ramp. And at that time, both suspects were apprehended. One was apprehended at gunpoint. The other had to be taken down to the ground, and they were both handcuffed and brought back to the boat. And at that point, Officer Koch had observed what he observed. You want to go ahead?
Yeah, as the 2 suspects took flight, as I was getting on their boat, they were taking flight. I was already on the boat. Officer Hederian got in foot chase with them, as you heard, and we were in shouting distance of Customs Border Protection agents who happened to be right there, so they were able to assist Officer Darin in the foot chase. At which point I stayed with the boat, and I had opened up the center console compartment in the boat, and what I observed to be what I had known and seen in pictures only was it was packed with bundles of some sort of narcotics at that point, large amount. At which point I was able to contact our dispatch and let them know why we're chasing these people, because this is not normal routine for us to have people during a boating safety inspection take off on foot and run. As Officer Hederian was apprehending the 2 suspects with the customs agents, I observed a white Cadillac Escalade leaving the parking lot of the boat ramp at a high rate of speed. The Escalade proceeded to go north on Federal Highway, and I was able to contact our road patrol officers to stop that vehicle. At that time, we didn't know if it was involved, but we wanted it stopped anyway because it was suspicious that it was leaving the boat ramp with no boat on the trailer. Incidentally, it was that truck and trailer was there to pick up this boatload of marijuana and possibly probably unload it somewhere else rather than the ramp.
So you guys didn't even know there was there were narcotics on board? You just knew they were acting suspicious and then they took off?
Correct. We do safety inspections numerous times a day. It's routine like we always do. We know this stuff is out there. We know it comes across at different times of the day, nighttime, daytime, whatever else it is. But there were certainly red flags thrown up that we were drawing our attention more and more due to their stories, due to the one engine being up, being a high-end boat to hit the sandbars like they did and to proceed like they did. It's kind of out of the norm for what we see.
So when you opened it, what was going through your head when you opened it, saw all that stuff in there?
We have a large amount of narcotics on this boat being smuggled into the country.
Jackpot.
So what happened?